Nice. Let's get this shit started. Hey, come on, come here, come here, hey, hello, come on. Where should we put this?
The show is brought to you today by AG1, Ridge, and Backblaze. Why don't we jump right into our headline topic, which is, of course, the ad that Apple released for the new iPad. Let's get through what the new iPad is. Apple officially launched their new M4 chip. Surprising, I mean, anyone who doesn't pay attention to leaks, there was some speculation earlier this week that Twitter's AI news feature may have access to scheduled tweets because of how accurate its summary of the upcoming Apple event was. I don't think that that's been confirmed.
I think my mic's on the wrong thing.
Necessarily gone anywhere. I haven't followed it up, so maybe it did, but I saw that. I thought it was pretty funny. Anyway, the new M4 chip is broadly similar to the M3, but has an additional 2 efficiency cores and a 20% increase in memory bandwidth. Apple is also claiming a more powerful neural engine, and that's where some of the speculation about why we're getting an M4 chip before they've even seemingly finished rolling out the M3 family. I mean, anyone else notice that the Mac Studio still has an M2 series chip in it? I mean,
hell yeah, brother.
Mac users, and by Mac users, I don't mean Apple users. I mean specifically Mac, not MacBook. Are Mac users feeling like Apple just straight up doesn't care about you at all? Every single time, every single time they come back and they're like,
stop.
No, we hear you. You matter to us. Here's a new Mac Pro with upgradable memory and upgradable GPU. By the way, we're never gonna rev this again, and bye-bye. Oh wait, no, we haven't forgot about you. Here's a Mac Pro that uses Apple Silicon. By the way, none of the upgrades and stuff are there, and it's like way more expensive for reasons we can't fully explain. Also, we're just not gonna revise it. You're gonna be on M2 Silicon forever, and then our other products, literally the iPad, is gonna get M4 before you guys get M3. It's kind of mind blowing at this point. Anyway,
okay, let's see if we actually get some
neural engine is
Vorcaf drops, because I haven't had any so far.
Has accelerated their plans for M4 with all this AI in the news, and to make sure that their stock price doesn't go down because they don't have enough AI. Honestly, I kind of doubt it. Realistically, Apple is at a level where people do not invest in Apple for AI. People invest in Apple because they have a very, very beautiful, wonderful balance sheet on a quarterly basis. Anywho, benchmarks from Geekbench show the M4 easily beating Intel's Core i9-14900KS in terms of single-core performance. Of course, we've talked about this a fair bit in the past. Geekbench is not the be-all and end-all of performance. It's just convenient to run because it happens to be cross-platform. And the chip is launching in the first iPad to feature ray tracing and hardware-accelerated mesh shading.
Don't let me hit zeros.
If only they would let you run macOS on it. It would be like kind of the best macOS machine with a little folio. Apple also announced the new M2 powered iPad Air, which is actually slightly thicker than the iPad Pro. The iPad Pro is crazy thin, and that's where some of the marketing hubbub has come from. It is.
I'm going to call it Air and have it be the thicker version. That is weird.
I mean, look.
It's cool that the Pro is so thin. I'm just saying.
look, Luke, this is the company what brung you Mac Pro, Mac Pro, Mac Pro, all of which are completely different products with completely different characteristics. They don't, the trash can one doesn't even look the same as the other ones. This is also the company what brung you, I'm trying to think. Oh, shoot, no, I was going somewhere with this, but, oh, yeah, Ultra Max. Pro, Ultra, I don't even remember. Literally, their
Nothing against the
most
Max.
important
I'd have
product
one, but
has
holy
gotten
shit.
bloated to the point where it's kind of a mess.
They are expensive, even compared to like what I've got this on. And my camera.
Here's the new iPhone. Oh, by the way, you can still buy the old iPhone and it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Then we got, I'm trying to think of the exact order that things happened. Then we got the SE.
Oh, no, yeah.
And the SE kind of made sense.
Come on,
it was
freeze me.
clearly separated
Fuck's
from
sake.
the rest of the product line. It didn't have the same premium feel, you know, unapologetically plastic, but kind of made sense. And then things just got completely off the rails because now we've got Pros, we've got Pro Maxes, we've got
X is where it really went off the rails for me.
Sorry, X?
iPhone X, iPhone 10.
Oh, the iPhone 10, right?
It's just like that was where they really lost me.
Yeah, so
I'm excited. While we're talking about naming stuff, I'm gonna allude to something I want to talk about later. I don't want to talk about it now though. But yeah, like what the heck are they gonna call the new
No third
Switch?
phrase.
Oh, well,
Because a lot of news articles are saying Switch 2,
Shit.
but all
There's
they said
no way
is the
Nintendo-
successor to the Switch.
there's no way Nintendo calls it Switch 2.
We'll get into that later.
All right,
Sorry
fine.
about
Make a note in the Luke section then.
Okay.
They also launched the Pencil Pro, which is only compatible with the 2024 iPad Pro and iPad Air. And another notable detail is that upgrading the M4 iPad Pro to the 1TB model will also get you a more powerful 10-core processor versus the 9-core
Oh,
standard
for fuck's
one,
sake,
which
Volkov.
is,
Trying to
very
move this.
MacBook-like.
Oh my God.
I thought it was the 512 as well. So don't quote me on that.
Trying to
but
watch this
definitely
podcast.
You can get a more powerful processor by upgrading the storage. I guess, is this Apple sort of tacitly acknowledging that people, that maybe they shouldn't be charging so much for just storage upgrades? So they're going to nerf the processor in their lower tier model so that you feel like you're getting more value? I'm actually not sure. Anyway, there was an ad for the new iPad Pro, and I have what I suspect is going to be a pretty unpopular take on it.
I wonder if it'll be unpopular with people here.
Here is the commercial,
We're gonna watch it.
which is still up, by the way, in spite of the fact. Actually, no, let's not watch the whole thing because I don't feel like getting, DMCA'd by Apple. But the point is, basically, there's a whole bunch of stuff. You got a piano, you got a metronome, you got a whole bunch of what looks like DJ equipment, a filming slate, whole bunch of stuff. There's some lenses and some art supplies. They crush it under a gigantic, what
Oops, wrong way.
appears to be a hydraulic press, but I don't know, might be a prop, who knows. And then they lift it back up to reveal the new iPad Pro, and look at it go. Oh my goodness! Look, okay, legitimately, it looks incredible.
That is very.
Which is pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
So this has caused a pretty big stir. I'm gonna read the notes, and then I'm gonna kind of give you my take.
Sure.
The commercial features are blah 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 blah. Okay. Apple, we'll get to that. The ad was particularly unpopular in Japan, with some people calling it disgusting and evil. A few Japanese commentators connected this revulsion to the traditional
don't
Shinto
shit
belief
click.
that tools and household belongings can come to possess their own kind of soul with the passing of time, and therefore deserve to be treated with a level of dignity and respect. Hugh Grant came out saying, hold on, let me see if I can find... quote, Apple iPad Pro. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. He called it the destruction
Easy.
of the human experience, courtesy of
Literally
Silicon
fucking
Valley.
No good drops from them. A-reverse.
So,
Just wait till he finds out about AI.
Apple seems, okay, this is from my notes, to have intended this as a metaphor for how all of the functions of these items are included with the iPad. However, others, particularly artists, saw it as a dystopian visual metaphor of an impersonal industrial machine destroying symbols of human creativity. All right. So, here comes the hot take. I'm with Apple on this one. Also, I think Apple is still with Apple on this one. They apologized for it
And left the ad up.
and left the ad up because I think the cold hard truth is that Apple recognizes that this is a storm in a teacup and that people, generally speaking, understood what they were saying. And here's the thing. I get that art is in the eye of the beholder, and the meaning of art can be in the eye of the interpreter, right? And in many cases, there are many examples of art where the writer, be it of a song, or the painter, be it of a painting, goes out
Hopefully
of their
better
way
on this
to
one. At least we're
never
making money.
completely explain what it meant.
Still
And
100K
that's,
run,
that's part of
so
the fun of it, right?
you can't
Where
complain
they're
about that.
basically like, no, I want you to form your own opinion. I want you.
You definitely
to find
can't
your
complain
own
about that.
meaning in this. Obviously, it had some kind of meaning to me, or maybe it didn't. Who knows? Obviously, it had some kind of meaning to me, but I want to know. I want to know what it means to you. So people, if you guys can, examples are escaping me. So Floatplane chat, if you want to hit me with a couple of famous examples of that, that would be great, just so that everyone can kind of enjoy that. But that's not what this is. Apple has come out and said what they meant by it. So for us to go, well, it meant this other thing, I think is...
What did they say specifically? Is this something you already said? Did I miss it?
Actually, you know what? No, I don't think they did say it. I think probably they thought it was obvious. Sorry, I was going based on our notes. They seem to have intended this as a metaphor for how all the functions of these items are included within the iPad. And to me, that is pretty obvious. Tarantino in that stupid briefcase, says Lucid Lucy. Okay, yes, okay, so there. That's a good example. But yeah, I would have thought that would be pretty obvious. And to me, to take what you were watching and say, oh, well, we don't care about the human artistry of anything anymore is sort of silly, because Apple's not saying, they didn't put humans in a hydraulic press. They put tools in a hydraulic press. And all they were saying was, here's another tool. Here's a tool that does so many of the things this thing does. And I think that... I think it's manufactured outrage.
There's a take from someone at Floatplane Chat from a lot earlier in the show, Gurin MKD, that says, Linus, I heard your point on the iPad ad. I think you missed the point of why people are upset. It's tone deaf because the iPad doesn't replace needing a piano or... Hold on, it's tone deaf because the iPad doesn't replace needing a piano or paint or TV or the other things. The iPad isn't able to do the tactile feel and artistic expression from having objects. The iPad is a tool that can support those tasks. Your take that people are upset because the iPad doesn't replace the artist is not the reason why people are upset. Red Bull doesn't give you wings. I don't know.
Yes.
It does. It's one thing that's interesting to me is, do we know? Because I've seen some people say so, but I haven't seen any official statements for it.
Yes, more of those. Less of those. No.
I'm not sure.
Because it doesn't look real to me. At least some parts of it, like the when it squishes the face of the thing, the little toy thing. Yeah,
there were things that looked wrong to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
So I don't want to... apparently it's CGI with a lot of video.
But how do we know that? Because I've seen people say that, but I've only seen random people on like in threads say that. I haven't seen any official things saying that.
So, okay, Avulsion says, Linus, I see your point. However, there's a strong argument that even works with an established intended meaning, where it can have meaning beyond
about time.
that, which is up to the interpretation of the viewer. And that's fair enough, but getting angry about it isn't really helpful. If someone's intent was not the thing that you see in something, then we have to be we have to acknowledge that. We have to kind of go, oh,
Palms to hit
okay,
1:6:25.
Well, that immediate emotional reaction that I had was not
never gonna get this pet.
I think in general, and we've said this when people really like ads and stuff too, is like, just have your general like balance and happiness and whatnot a lot less connected to brands. Like when Wendy's and other various brands were running wild on Twitter there for a while, and people were like emotionally invested in like these brands dunking on people. It was like just as cringe. It's like, dude, it's just marketing. It's just brands. Just ignore it. This isn't like good for you. You're losing the game.
So in general, I think this is much ado about nothing. I think their intended purpose was very clear. I think that we have far more pressing concerns, especially because the iPad has been such an artist's tool. And yeah, you're right, it doesn't replace a piano in the same way that a synth doesn't replace a piano, right? But it absolutely is an instrument of artistic expression. And to deny that would be...
Oops.
I don't know. I think if I use words...
So is your phone.
So is anything.
A rock.
So is a garbage can lid.
Yeah.
Anything can be a tool for artistic expression. And all Apple was trying to say was that this tool for artistic expression can combine metaphorically the functions of everything you see here. They obviously recognize that a Swiss Army knife, okay, is not the world's best knife. It is not.
I still
the
don't
world's
understand
best
the
pair of
outrage.
tweezers, and it is not the world's best toothpick. In
From
fact,
this iPad ad.
it is not a toothpick at all.
I'm seeing it on
because
X and
know
it's
about
like,
you
oh, I
guys,
don't
but
know
for me,
what's
the
going on.
toothpick gets lost immediately. Okay, immediately.
Just garbage.
But that doesn't mean if Swiss Victorinox or whatever, the company that makes Swiss Army knives, if they made a commercial like that, where they took, you know, a shovel and a whatever, and they compressed it all into this Swiss Army knife.
I'd love to see someone dig with it.
Dude, we wouldn't be having the same conversation.
No, probably not. I mean, there's a million other people are linking all of these in Floatplane chat right now. There's a ton of other ads that are like effectively the same thing. Like people posted this one from LG. Where's my thing? Here it is.
Someone's like, by your logic, a
So here, this
firearm
one.
could be used as artistic expression. Have you ever seen a firearm with a skin on it? No, seriously.
There's a
I guarantee you someone has tried to draw a picture with a firearm at some point.
yeah, and people used to do not used to, they still do it, like stipple art on plastic and leathery ones, and they used to do wood engraving,
And look, you might not like
metal engraving.
that form of art. You might not like what they're expressing. What if what they're expressing is their Second Amendment right to bear arms and shoot guns at things? That's human expression. You don't get to just say, well, that's where's your violin? Like, no, literally anything can be a form of human expression. Yes, even a gun.
Trig said painting firearms is huge in the industry now. Painting firearms has been huge in the industry for
Well, yeah.
a long time.
Do you guys remember the video of the guy playing a Christmas song firing a gun? No, I haven't actually seen that. It isn't my point though. It isn't my point.
We're not saying it's good or bad artistic expression. We're saying
it just is, and you don't get to gatekeep it. So yeah, sorry guys, I don't care. I actually fully defend Apple in this case.
okay. So do you?
They should leave the ad up.
So you defend them leaving the ad up
100%.
and not apologizing for it?
They did apologize, but
yeah.
they left it up. I'm with them on
Do
it.
you think it's a good ad? If there was no
Yeah.
controversy,
Yeah.
nobody talked about it.
Yeah.
Because nobody talked about the bunch of other ads that are exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good ad.
I think their previous ad was better.
Which one?
Someone linked this as well, but I remember this, and I think we even talked about it on Land Show. But this one. You remember this ad?
What is this? What's a computer?
Yeah.
This is not a better ad.
No?
I don't even know what the f I'm looking at right now.
What do you mean?
Like, okay, what? I can draw on it?
Yeah. I think the whole point of this ad was that she can do a lot of the things that you can do on a computer, but she can do it on an iPad. That's all it was.
I guess. It takes a really long time to get to the point.
That's fair.
That is a 68-second ad.
Yeah.
So I guess, okay, hold on. I should clarify then. I don't think it's bad. I think that it is.
You think the compression one is better?
It's struggling to hold my attention.
That's
And
fair.
so the percentage of that I would be likely to watch before clicking skip ad is much lower. Whereas I think
Yeah.
that the hydraulic, to be
That is
clear,
boring.
there's still plenty of things that I think Apple is so far up their own asses about that they will never see the light of day ever again.
Oh yeah.
This commercial just isn't one of them. Why don't we jump into our next topic here? You want to pick it?
People
How
are
about
also
the-
pointing out, this is an interesting one. Trig in Floatplane chat is pointing out that the original iPhone 1 commercials try to make effectively the same point, but they're not really.
It's got 26 minutes in.
Narrative, like they took our jobs.
There's lots of problems there.
situation.
There's tons of problems there.
That Apple ad just isn't it.
Yeah.
So why invest the energy in it?
Save
And
it.
it's like Hugh Grant. Look,
Save your strength.
no offense, but when's the last time you made a movie that I wouldn't just watch on my iPad? Boom, roasted.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was unique.
He was actually in that Dungeons and Dragons movie. That was very good.
Oh yeah.
I legitimately actually I do enjoy Hugh
So
Grant's
very recently,
films. Oh yeah. Oh no, I know. I was just. No, I was
Whoops.
just courting
oh, this is Hugh
controversy.
Grant. Yeah, he's cool.
You don't know actors.
I don't know anybody.
I know. It's sad. Anyway, why don't we move on? Microsoft has been catching. Okay, back to things that you should be mad about. Here is a legitimate channel for that energy.
This could take some action.
Microsoft has suddenly closed
It's not an ad.
3 studios that it acquired alongside Bethesda, including Tango Gameworks, the developer of the award-winning and widely praised Hi-Fi Rush, Hi-Fi Rush. How do I pronounce Austin?
I think that's supposed to be Austin.
Oh, that makes way more sense. Arcane Austin, developer of Prey and Redfall, was another loss, meaning that development of
It's
Redfall
Arcane Studios in Austin, Texas.
is effectively over and its promised DLC has been canceled. Purchasers of the Hero Pass that promised access to this future DLC will instead receive a credit of unknown value.
Neat.
Yikes.
And the studio head at Arcane
That's not good.
Austin's sister studio,
That's
Arcane
really not good.
Neon, called the closure a f***ing gut stab. Fans, meanwhile, have been reverse review bombing Hi-Fi Rush with positive reviews in a show of support. According to reporting from Bloomberg, even more Microsoft studios are likely to close in the near future due to a widespread cost-cutting initiative.
There's other reasons as well. Maybe we'll get into them here. I'm not sure.
During a Bloomberg event, Xbox President Sarah Bond gave a non-answer to the question of whether launching a surprise hit game should protect a developer from being shut down, as the camera cut to a wide shot showing a very interesting graph of Xbox's year-over-year growth. Here comes our very interesting graph.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Are you allowed to call it growth? I guess growth could be a negative number. That makes sense.
Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty also inflamed the controversy when it was reported that he told employees during an internal meeting a day after the closures that Xbox needed smaller games that give us prestige and awards, which is...
The defense that I've heard around that
Yes.
is that Hi-Fi Rush was actually a surprisingly large game in the sense of the cost of development, studio size, and stuff like that. But I would still argue that it outproceeded expectation.
I mean, when we talk about big games these days,
Outperformed expectation.
we're talking about, quadruple A games. In my mind, honestly though, when you tell me a big game these days,
If you try to compare budgets of it, so
yeah, I'm sitting here going, okay, well, is it Cyberpunk? Is it GTA 6? What's a big game? So when you say smaller games, you didn't even say small. Smaller games that give us prestige and awards.
yeah, I don't know enough about the size of what was it? Was it Arcane? No, Tango Gameworks. I don't know anything about the size of that, so I can't really compare it. And the whole AAA nomenclature is weird these days anyways, because like, what does it even mean anymore?
Yeah,
I heard, I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard that the original naming for that came from like the finance industry, and it was supposed to essentially define games that were like a safe investment because they were like leaning on IPs that people knew would sell and stuff like that. And that's just not what the AAA industry is anymore.
Here's my question. If they're so strapped for cash, could they have just not bought Bethesda?
Bought a bunch of studios? Yeah, I wonder
Not even
how
a bunch of studios. Could they have just not bought Bethesda specifically?
I wonder
Could
how
they
much
have just
of this
not?
is specifically the failure of Starfield.
That's an interesting
Because
question.
like I talked about this on the WAN show, I don't know how long ago, but I had a discussion topic. I don't know how we got onto this, but I talked about how I think there were some quotes from the director of publishing from Larian or something in there as well, but I talked about how one of the big problems with these subscription services is that the companies running the subscription services are just going to want games that sell the subscription service.
Yep, and they're going to have their own internal metrics, which probably have deeply flawed aspects of them. Like, they're not going to be perfect.
Yep. So they'll do it data based on whatever, not data based as in a database.
Yeah, but based on data. Data-driven decision making.
There we go. Yeah, they'll do that. But then what if the data's junk? And I suspect a lot of that data is going to lead them to massive titles that bring in all of the people instead of these small games that, like, you know, someone might subscribe to the service because they're like, I want to play the new Halo or whatever.
Sure.
But what they actually spend all their time playing, because Halo sucks now, is stuff like Hi-Fi Rush or whatever else.
Not wrong.
But if they, on their exiting survey and they're the first game they play when they sign up, if those aren't these smaller titles, it might not bring light to them. And if that makes them think,
playtime though.
yeah, but if you have a bunch of playtime, yeah, I don't know. It totally depends on how they're measuring that data.
It also is. I guarantee you. Look, I don't work for Microsoft. I don't work in the Xbox team, but I guarantee you that there's an element of this that's political as well. Because any time you just have a bucket of money, someone is going to decide what to do with that money. If all of these games were selling on their own individual merit, generating their own revenue, then it would be directly attributable right back to the team that worked on it. Whereas if all of these games are minor contributors to a gigantic bucket of money called Game Pass revenue that someone or someone's is in charge of divvying up, kind of going, okay, so reinvestment-wise, this is going to go into what we think is a good bet over here, and this is going to go into what we think is a good bet over here, just because you made something great last time that contributed a whole bunch of subscribers, a whole bunch of playtime, doesn't necessarily mean that you will be divvied anything.
Yeah.
So it's actually the complete. And what's funny is,
Because what if they don't believe in your vision for your next post project?
then instead of you just automatically having the money for it anyway, because your last project did really well, you could just be rug pulled. And
Everything's gone.
And what's funny about this is I remember us having
Bloody hell.
conversations about how subscription services could be a savior for smaller game developers. They could have.
And it sort of was for a little bit.
And they could have been, because this idea that instead of feast and famine, where you launch your game, you get a whole bunch of revenue, you squirrel it away like a squirrel saving nuts. Okay, you squirrel it away, and then you
I haven't
kind
had
of
good Warcraft for so long.
ration it out until you can get your next game
Like,
launched.
any of the Dragon
that wasn't
ones, any of the
sustainable,
Rune
right?
stuff.
And so the idea
It's been a
that
while.
you could just have a little bit of consistent revenue trickling
Come on.
in on a more regular basis by contributing to this pool of games that people can play, you know, games Netflix style. It all seemed like a pretty happy idea.
Here's another part of the problem. So I don't think this was in the notes, but and if I click on the Fortune.com article to try to actually get the whole thing, there's a giant ad that I can't get past to pay money to Fortune. So I'm just going to read off of the Google search result for it. But it says Speaking about the closures more broadly, Booty said that the company's studios had been spread too thin,
Fuck's sake.
like peanut butter on bread, which I thought was a really weird analogy for spread too thin, but sure. And that leaders across the division had felt understaffed, and they decided to close these studios to free up resources elsewhere. So they bought all these things,
Right.
didn't have the like
Plan.
high level leadership to manage all these sub studios now, and then we're just like, and closed it. What a waste! Like there's like Embracer Group just like bought a bunch of stuff and then closed them. And Microsoft just bought a bunch of stuff and closed them. Like this isn't gonna make people get interested in your other garbage games that you're releasing. It's just gonna create more people buying other stuff unrelated to you. Like if we look at a lot of the really big successes as to late, they have not been big Microsoft titles.
What about Halo Infinite?
It's just not working. Like the buy them and close them model is not going to be effective. I pretty much guarantee.
And I gotta kind of wonder,
Fucking
right? Like
decals.
bean counters, you know. If your bean counting calculation goes, okay, this bean costs $1 billion. Okay, so you buy it for $1 billion,
Nice.
and then you basically go,
Good
okay,
bean. It's a solid bean right there.
okay, let's throw away this bean.
You could fit so much fiber in that bean.
Yeah. What's your plan? Like, how did that make it past? How did that make it past the? You know that old meme format where the guy gets like hucked out of the window of the boardroom. Like how?
How did it make it past that guy?
Yeah.
Whoops.
I actually don't get it. And to be clear, it's not like as a company we've never overextended ourselves
For sure.
and been in a position where, having twice as many people is actually less efficient, right? Like it's not like we aren't at a size where I get that,
Growth has pains.
but you don't have to buy things.
And they closed it so fast. They didn't buy Bethesda that long ago.
No,
Like it's very quickly.
no.
My goodness. Oh man.
But throwing away the bean is a tax write-off. Drop table employees in floatplane chat, you're banned. I'm kidding. You're
I
not banned.
do wonder like how much of this is just like stock, minor stock manipulation or like trying
I
to
don't think
appease
it's-
stockholders at all. Like
Well,
because
okay.
if they have all these studios, like is it better from a stockholder's perspective or someone potentially purchasing a stock? This is stuff I am not good at, don't know a lot about. So just big warning before people get pissed off. From that perspective, is it better for them to just focus on future revenue than care about what's in the bank right now? And I think yes, right? So they can
So-
spend fairly recklessly to like buy studios as long as they're sharpening the sword for the future. Is that how the like capitalist stock
Finally.
market
Actually, some
perspective?
decent
so what
cash.
you want, if you are an acquisition company, which at a certain point
They are.
every company is, you're
Sure.
essentially just. When's the last time Microsoft invented anything? And you can basically say that about any gigantic, multi-hundreds of billions of dollars company. Some of them do.
They just buy
Is that
small
even
companies.
worth
They do
anything?
very real research and development, but a lot of the time they're out
What's that?
there acquiring.
They buy OpenAI.
They're acquiring. So at a certain level, pretty much every company is an acquisition company. So they take capital from shareholders, from investors, and they use that capital to buy something that has recurring revenue. Then they basically just need to maintain whatever their target balance of revenue to operational expenses is. And if they don't, then their share price crashes, their creditworthiness tanks, and they are in enormous trouble because they have a bunch of debt, right? Because they needed that investment in order to make those acquisitions.
Yeah.
So it becomes this wheel that they have to keep running on to constantly show a really high operating income, which is that operating revenue minus operational expenses calculation. And so what they might do is buy something And then if it doesn't immediately spin the money machine fast enough by shedding it, well, a penny saved is a penny earned.
Yeah.
And from an investor standpoint, the minor details, like the amount of money that they had to spend to reach that number on a quarter by quarter by quarter by quarter basis, doesn't really matter as long as they find some other thing to acquire that like does more better, or some other thing that does whatever. It's just effectively cost of doing business. There is no human element to any of this. And that's why you see decisions like this being made. That's why you see this level of recklessness, or callousness, I guess is probably the better word. The example of Tesla just laying off their supercharging.
Does that change though, because they bought Bethesda for like around 10% of just the cash on hand that they had. So I don't know. I mean, it was probably still done as some debt purchase because whatever. But
I guess what I'm trying to say is that immediate loss on Bethesda doesn't really matter as long as they maintain that ratio.
This is what I was trying. This was also the point that I was effectively trying to make.
I see.
Like, does spending the money effectively not matter? And then they try to sharpen the sword afterwards. So like the purchase of studios from these large companies means honestly next to nothing.
Yeah, like it's and they can play an extremely long game as long as they don't run out of capital. Like I think I've talked about this before, but one of my friends has an independently owned veterinary practice, and she was talking to me about the nightmare that it was to be bidding on the veterinary practice that she worked at. So she worked there. She started as an employee and is now the owner. But her journey there was arduous, and as she was reaching the final stages,
sorry about that plane noise. You're going to hear them all.
Negotiation to purchase the veterinary practice, the problem was that she was bidding against a large, you could call them a veterinary company, but remember what I just said, any company once it's large enough is just an acquisition company. So what they really are an acquisition and holding company that happens to focus on investments into veterinary practices because it's a space that they are deeply invested in, which can come with strategic advantages, which I'll get to in a second. And so the problem that she had was typically you would value a business on some multiple of their earnings before something, I forget, whatever. It's called EBITDA. So, let's say 3 to 5x for a business that's not expected to experience any kind of explosive growth. And what that essentially means is, let's say that number was $10 million. I would expect to buy your veterinary practice that makes $2 million a year. I would expect to buy it for somewhere between $6 and $10 million. And the idea is that if I continue to run it well, I will make back my $6 to $10 million in 3 to 5 years. And if it's a business that's expected to grow, then you would expect a higher multiplier, because if I run it competently, well, it should grow, and I should make my money back in an even shorter period of time. And you can see much, much higher EBITDAs in fields like tech, where they're expecting this company to explosively grow in the next 2 years to the point where they might get that return in 18 months, right?
Or property land banks.
Well, a veterinary practice
is very high EBITDA on that, so
they're
probably going to be pretty consistent.
Yeah, you might see steady growth.
Unless everyone buys pets because of COVID or something like that, there's no way you can see it coming.
But there's only so many operating rooms. There's only so many dogs you can cut open at a time. And so there's kind of limits.
Sad but true.
Yes, there's kind of limits to how much it can grow.
Yeah.
And so somewhere in the 3 to 4 to 5x range is probably reasonable.
almost shit like that.
But what she was up against was a company that was bidding about double that. And she's looking at it going, this makes no real sense. Like, the cost, like I have to have debt in order to, like, I don't have that kind of money sitting in the bank. It's millions of dollars. What, even a vet, right? Like they don't have millions of dollars of cash in the bank. It doesn't work like that. Like you have to take on debt in order to make an acquisition like that. And so how does this make any sense? The amount of interest I'm going to be paying Right. So, but she's up against a group that is playing such a long game
Just don't care.
that they don't care
They want
about the
effectively
immediate return.
monopolistic ownership of all the veterinary practices in the,
That's
in
right.
the general areas.
That's right. They're playing such a long game, and their shareholders don't care about that big hit to the balance sheet this quarter. What they care about is the money machine
What's the path?
churning out
Yeah.
consistent income. And then once there's nothing else to acquire, well, they still have to have that go up. So what they do is, now that they control all the veterinary practices in the
prices
Vancouver
are-
area, they jack up the prices.
Hell yeah.
And that's the end game. It destroys everything. And the reality of it is that regulators are not going to get involved in community veterinary practices, because it's not a monopoly in the strictest sense of the word. It's anti-competitive, sure, but I mean, realistically, when there are so much bigger battles to fight, like the $400 Band-Aid that might end up on your invoice at a hospital, for example. What? So like your dog's broken leg cost you more because some company owns all the vet? Like, I'm sorry, I don't have time for this.
Like, it's something that would be nice if they pursued, and I'm happy that these days they do seem to be doing roughly anything. But yeah, there might be bigger fish.
So so basically, yeah, that's the long and short of it. They don't care because they don't care, because it just doesn't matter to them. Which really sucks. So the good news for my friend who owns the practice is that Dr. Smith is a good guy. One of those people who actually puts people above money, and took the human offer.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's actually really good to do.
Yeah. So if you guys are ever need help with
And don't assume most people are going to do that either.
No, most
people would take the big offer.
And you can tell yourself all day. You can tell yourself all day and night. I would take the human offer.
And then the offer's on the table.
And then there's literally millions of dollars at stake. It's in front of you. The document is there. All you have to do is sign it.
Pretty much no one's going to know that you did this.
Most people will sign it.
Yep.
But it was pretty cool. So Dr. Smith, super cool, and yeah. Shout out my friend Cindy from Fraser Heights Animal Hospital. Really good person. Yeah, she's super cool. So if you guys, I don't think they don't do birds, unfortunately, for Luke.
Yeah.
They specialize in dogs and cats. But
Our vet is actually they're very nice people. They're just really far away. That's the main annoying part.
We're supposed to explain and do 2 merch messages. Shall we?
Yeah. You want me to do it?
Yeah, you do it
You
for a
always
change.
do it.
I know.
Merch messages
Come
are
on,
the
50.
premier way of sending messages into
Ooh,
the
I
show.
like that.
There are others, and they are inferior. This is the way to do it. You get stuff. Could you buy a gift card? Yes, if you really just wanted nothing, but you should probably, get something for
Hey, brother.
your message that you choose to send into the store.
Yeah.
If you choose to do so, you can go onto the store, pick an item, add it to your cart, view your cart, and there you go. On the cart page, you can see the merch message. You can check the little box. I would like my purchase to appear as a merch message on the LTT stream, and then leave whatever message you want to leave. You can pick your little color. You can do all that type of stuff. You can make it anonymous if you want, etc. And then either you'll say bad things that we don't want to show up on the show, and we'll hide it, and it will never be shown to anyone, or Dan will read it and go like, I can respond to that, and he'll respond to it through text, and then it will show up on the bottom of the screen where this banner currently is. It'll show your message, and then it will show Dan's response, or one of the or Linus or myself will do a text response, or it will be selected as a discussion question for Linus and I and Dan potentially to discuss live on the show. That's how it works.
Dark24 on Floatplane says, I hate stuff, I just want to buy words. Hey, good news. You're subscribed to Floatplane.
Yeah, you did it. Good job.
You succeeded. You found the place where we will take your money to have colorful your name in colorful words.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, you know, behind the scenes and all that kind of cool stuff. We do have some updates on the store. So we finally brought back
awesome.
some of our classic t-shirts.
Come on,
RAM,
just hit him.
hard drive, processor, and GPU are all back. That's right, my friends.
The processor shirt is so sick.
We even retook photos, and this is really funny. Maria
I hide
sent
walkout
me
sometimes.
this earlier today. She was like, dude, I don't know how you did this,
Is it exactly the same?
but your picture looks exactly the same. Oh, okay. This goes to the same one every time. Okay, hold on. I'll get this.
This man has practice.
Yeah, your hands are in slightly different positions, but they're very similar.
Yeah, she was like,
Ugh,
dude,
Wow.
grapes.
what?
Fucking grapes.
The head is like identical.
This is not like Photoshop. These are not two set. These
I
are
don't really care.
these are two
If I'm eating
completely
man rice and
different
I don't need
pictures
to.
taken like a
I
couple
want these
minutes
dragon bones,
apart.
dude.
Where I walked off the photo set, changed my shirt, walked back, stood there, and absolutely nailed it.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
Oh, get over Elijah's a breaking news. Linus looks like Linus. That's not the point, Elijah.
Xavier
the exact
says.
same pose.
Xavier
Come
says
on.
the wrinkles are different.
My goodness.
In the shirt. The shirt
These are the
wrinkles
people that didn't like the Apple ad.
The shirt wrinkles are different.
I know what they meant. It wasn't the shirt wrinkles. It was the real ones. Don't make me go get more procedures.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm done.
All right, actual merch message time. Dan, hit us.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey,
Oh wait, hold on. There's a few notes. Wait, there's a few notes. These are printed on our old American Apparel blanks, apparently.
Oh, what?
And the hard drive and RAM shirts are still being printed, so shipping for those will be a little bit delayed. Limited quantities available. Oh, I see. So we're just blowing away some leftover American Apparel shirt stock. Okay, cool. I mean, the American Apparel shirts, they were good enough for us to sell for many years.
Good shirts.
I do like our new ones better, but
Yeah,
hey,
but they're good shirts.
classic designs. Let's go. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Hey, lentil, lungs, and door. I've noticed the last few, these are getting really weird. I've noticed that the last few handheld PC videos haven't mentioned the Steam Deck much. Is that because it's not a good comparison because of price or performance?
What it isn't is an apples to apples comparison. The Steam Deck is an incredible console, but for the same reason that I wouldn't necessarily talk about the Nintendo Switch in the same breath as every new handheld PC, I also am beginning to view the Steam Deck in a bit of a different light. It is priced very aggressively, which is amazing. It offers a very console-like experience where instant wake, instant sleep are integral to the experience. It's a fantastic console.
Bloody hell.
But much like a console, its library is a little
you're
bit
right
more
back.
limited, and a lot of it's not Valve's fault. It's due to, you know.
Back in black. Focus.
You know, whether it's the developer of the game or the developer of the anti-cheat, it's down to developers' either refusal or unwillingness to build Linux support into their games. I mean, yeah, I guess it's mostly that, but it's just a different product. It's an amazing product. The OLED version, oh man, the screen on it is just incredible. But I also have a tendency to lean on my own experiences when I'm evaluating products, and the reality of it is that ROG Ally won. I don't daily drive a Steam Deck because for me, the trade-offs, the things that I give up for being on Windows are not worth what I gain by being on a Steam Deck. Of course, you know, these are devices that, you know, one of each is sitting in the warehouse, so I don't have to necessarily consider the price.
I was just gonna say, if you're covering it now, but the Steam Deck is significantly cheaper.
Yeah, the Steam Deck is an amazing piece of hardware. It's also not as performant as the latest handheld PCs, and that's part of the trade-off.
Oops.
When did it launch?
It's been a minute, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's
It's been a
sake.
few years at this point.
Lol.
It was what, 2020?
I'm a failure.
2020?
I know when it was
failure.
announced, we were doing WAN show remotely.
It did not launch in 2022, did it? Oh my goodness, it's 2024. Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, so my problem there wasn't that I didn't realize how long ago the Steam Deck launched. I didn't realize what year it was. What is time?
It's current year.
Oh. Anyway, wow, that's scary. So, Nokia asks, do you feel Proton OS has matured enough to be competitive as an OS? I don't know. Maybe if
They won't
Steam
give it to
ever
us.
actually fucking released the bloody thing, we'd be able to have a conversation about that. Sorry, you've touched a bit of a nerve because I've been putting off the Linux
It's gonna
Challenge
be a
V2
two run.
for the release of SteamOS. And every time I ask those guys, hey, how's it going? They're like, we're on it. And I'm like, right. But that's not what I asked. I asked, can it be on my computer? Not are you on it? And it just keeps not appearing. And I get it. Valve's a, well, I was going to say busy company, but they've got some stuff going
This
on.
is my
No, they
worst
got
run in
stuff going
fucking
on.
ages.
Lots of money.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm willing to bet that they have some wild.
I'm just gonna
stuff
reset
work
after this
stuff
one.
Probably.
That
Who knows
they-
if they'll ever release it.
Well, not yeah. I suspect.
They're just too busy making tons of money
I don't know anything
and
about,
evaluating the absurd amount more money than they make than all the other companies.
I don't know anything about the internal workings of Valve.
Other
Okay,
than that, they make disgusting amounts.
I've never worked there, but what I suspect, based
This
on
is
everything I've seen,
like
out
one of my
these
worst
guys,
runs in
is that they
fucking-
probably build more products.
Probably
than
like
they
50.
actually release.
I'm sure.
Like-
They'd be bored. They're making all this money. They might as well do something.
By a significant margin. I mean, did you see the rig that they built for that Steam Deck OLED commercial? Where they built that sphere out of Steam Deck OLED screens?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's wild. It is peak because we can.
Oh yeah,
Like
sure.
100%.
They might as well spend all that money on something.
There was absolutely no reason whatsoever for them to do that practically like that. They could have come up with any other concept for a commercial, but they did that
Nice.
because somebody was like, that'd be cool.
That'd be neat. Can we afford it? Easily. Just send it.
Man, I really wish those guys would hurry up and get a flippin' Index 2 going here, because there have been some advancements in lens technology and in screen technology that I'm sure Valve has been
Come
doing stuff
on,
with.
hit.
They just won't give me my new. They won't give me my new
I'm
headset.
s- that was shit.
Really want it.
More, please.
At least I think the run still
Steam
made
Deck.
money.
Super cool. It'll definitely be back in the conversation around Steam Deck 2. We definitely will, bring it up. I mean, the ROG Ally X. People
9K
are talking
for
about
a-
that. Apparently, there's a leak or
Yikes.
something.
Yeah,
It's pretty
I
bad.
think that's That's a topic in here, actually, the ROG Ally X. I don't think it's like a
Pretty
huge
bad.
jump, though. A little bit more battery life. I think it's like a... I mean, to be fair, they're naming it fairly properly for this, but I think it's like kind of like a pro model, not a generational leap, if that makes sense.
Yeah, should we jump into that and then we'll do the other merch message?
We can do that, sure. ROG Ally X. ASUS has teased the ROG Ally X, which they claimed is somewhere between a sequel to the original Ally and a revision of it. Featuring a new black color, the X will sport larger battery life, allegedly way more than 30 to 40% more capacity?
I doubt it. It's probably something more like that.
It's probably like 30 to 40% capacity. I think this is written as allegedly way more, like 30 to 40% more capacity. That's what I'm assuming. Anyways, SVP, what does that mean?
Senior Vice President.
Cool. Sean Yen hinted at The Verge that the new handheld would give at least 3 hours of battery life playing intensive games. However, the device will be slightly heavier because of said larger battery. ASUS says the Ally X should have more than the 16 gigs of RAM the Ally Non-X currently has, and it will apparently be repairable with redesigned joystick modules that are more interchangeable. So just the joysticks.
God damn, that plane is flying.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will feature an M.2 2280 slot rather than the 2230 SSD.
So if you want to throw like an 8 terabyte SSD because you enjoy having an SSD that costs 3 times as much as your computer.
ASUS still won't admit that the Ally's SD card reader had any fault, but the Ally X will have a rearranged motherboard layout that will just happen to move the SD card slot away from the vents.
Interesting.
However, the screen will be exactly the same, and so will the AMD Z1 or Z1 Extreme APU. The Steam Deck OLED, this is not. So yeah, that makes sense. More battery life, which is fair.
I understand it. It's a Steam Deck
Oh,
OLED,
yeah.
this is not.
Isn't that what I said?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Anyway, but yes. So it will apparently not
Hell
be getting
yeah.
an OLED screen. Okay, coming on June 2nd.
Yeah.
Our discussion question here is: what other upgrades would you have liked to see? I can't comment
It's
on
been
anything
so soon.
other than what's in here. I mean, I wouldn't have minded seeing more performance, but I guess more battery life is also pretty good. I would have liked to see another USB-C port. I'm
honestly surprised they have a revision already.
On my trip to Japan, I had this brilliant idea that on the plane, my kids could play like multiplayer games with this portable. I grabbed one of the screens. It happens to be an ASUS like ROG portable monitor. So I grabbed one of the ones out of my car, and I brought it with me so that they could put it in the middle seat and sit 3 abreast, and then play games together, and I could run them off the Ally. And I was like, man, that would be sick. And so I brought a USB-C cable, and I plugged it between the Ally and the monitor, and went, oh, hold on a second. It's not like this monitor supports power delivery. How on earth am I going to charge this? Did I bring a micro HDMI to USB-C adapter? No, then I still couldn't charge it. Oh, dude. So
Now you need like a dock.
yeah, so yeah, exactly. And I didn't think to bring a dock. It's completely on me. But the difference maker would have been if it just had 2 USB-C ports, like so many other handhelds do. So I would love to see that. That's something that has affected me personally. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see Hall effect joysticks. I guess the repairability might help a little bit. No, I'm just. I was asked what I would like to see.
Yeah.
I can only comment on what's written here because who knows what I might or might not know.
Faster, better, stronger is cool. It's a portable device. You could hope basically everything would be better. I'm surprised there's a revision already. That's all. Because how long is the Ally is quite a bit newer than the Steam Deck.
No, the Steam Deck's huge.
No. More recently released.
Oh.
So it was released June 13th, 2023. So it's been less than a year, and they're revising it already. That's pretty fast in the device realm.
Well, I mean, that's the IT industry cycle, though. And that's, again, something that makes the Steam Deck feel a lot more console-like to me, is it's very clearly on a more console-like refresh cycle. I mean, it's still Steam Deck is still RDNA 2, isn't it? I think RDNA 2. Excuse me, Zen 2. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though Zen 3 was coming and we're already on Zen 4 now, like they could, if they were just, using a random APU out of AMD's product catalog, then they could easily be revising it. But it's clear that Valve is serious about treating it like a console, where they lock in the spec and they build performance targets for various games. They build profiles, and it's not just a PC where you're expected to just kind of tinker around with your graphics sliders. You can, because man, Valve is pretty chill about that kind of stuff. Like, here, yeah, why don't you play around with your power profile, and why don't you play around with all these settings? But they're obviously trying to create a console-like experience.
Okay.
Second merge message.
We're technically jumping to a second merge message.
Hit me.
Now.
Oh, we're still on time. Let's see. Hey, DLL. I was recently thrust into a manager position after the sudden ousting of my boss. We have a team of 50 people. Any tips for dealing with employees who make the same mistakes over and over?
Fire them. I'm actually kidding, because it's not that simple. I mean, people make mistakes. I make mistakes. What are the marriage, divorce statistics? Divorce rates.
Close to 50%.
Here, divorce rates USA. After
a lot of that is repeat offenders as well.
The overall trend in we're not gonna be. The point is that people make mistakes. They make them over and over and over again. It is a serious strain on the relationship.
So apparently first marriages is around 40 to 50%, and second marriages is around 60 to 67%.
Yeah, there you go. So if your hope is to build a team of people that are not going to make mistakes over and over and over again, and the reason that I'm bringing up marriages is that's probably the relationship in our lives that is most committed, and I'm not talking like a parent-child relationship. I'm talking voluntary relationships. This is probably the relationship in our lives that is most committed, at least on paper, and it is one that we clearly allow the day-to-day issues that we deal with trying to work as a team. Sorry, I keep gesturing at Luke, but maybe Yvonne is somewhere over there. It's one where we clearly allow the day-to-day issues that we encounter when we're trying to work together as a team to destroy, and that rate of destruction is something like, well, apparently, 30 to 65% or something like that. So with that in mind, if you build a team that is 3 people, odds are you're going to want to divorce one of them in some period of time.
Yeah.
So you just have to find ways.
Polyamorous people are just in shambles right now.
I don't know how you guys do it. I mean, look, I'm not judging. The relationship style that works for me might not work for you, and what works for you today might not work for you tomorrow. What works for me now might not work for me later. This stuff is it's fluid, and it's all cool. No judgment here. There's a zero judgment zone, but
Sounds like a lot.
I have no idea how you do it. Maintaining one relationship is like, and to be clear, Yvonne's great. Like, dude, I'm extremely lucky. But man, relationships take work. Like, if I had 2 Yvonnes in my life, it'd be like,
things would be so incredibly well planned and organized, though.
That's true. But what if one of them planned it one way?
Oh no!
And the other organized it another way, and there was a conflict?
Just gotta step back. You gotta retreat.
No, there's no way. I mean, I don't want them both dead. I mean, yeah, one of them.
Binching, dude. Binching.
Yeah, binching.
How you going?
Yeah, alright.
Oh, yeah, mad, bro. Yeah, mad.
Yeah, it goes off.
Oh, sometimes it does.